Hi, my name is Al Green. Not that one, but the struggling guy who was in the music industry for years trying to sell talent and songs to agents. The agents befriended me and taught me techniques that I want to pass on to you through my program, which is called You Can Talk, You Can Sell. Anyone who has ever taken this program has excelled in selling and either risen to the top of their company, their team, or the top of their field. It's called You Can Talk, You Can Sell, and you can get it right here. Hey, are you paying attention? I mean, really paying attention. One of the key ingredients to being successful in business is to pay attention. Paying attention means that we all have a tendency to listen to people and skip over words that they say, and that's not really paying attention, because what it means is that we're kind of selectively listening. Paying attention means that you can literally transcribe in your mind the message of what another person is saying. Communication is key. They teach this in many of the arts. They teach this in dance, and they definitely teach this in acting and in singing, that you have to communicate. One of the biggest problems that I see coaches make and salespeople make alike is that they're not communicating. And the reason why they're not communicating is because they're not paying attention. They have a tendency to just get a general idea of what a person's going to say and mentally finish what they're saying. And that's actually not really listening, not paying attention. Why is paying attention so important? If you've ever looked at quality control of any product and found a flaw, it's because somebody somewhere didn't pay attention. And whoever did the quality control of that product also didn't pay attention. A lot of times we do things, one of the most frustrating things that happens to us on a day-to-day basis, I hate to say it, is when you drive through a particular hamburger or taco stand and you give them your order, and then as soon as they give it to you, you check and you find out that something was different about what you asked for, or it wasn't exactly what you were asking for. So why is that? It's because somewhere somebody was not paying attention. Maybe the person who was taking your order was completely repeating the order back to you, but at the same time they're writing it down, and the next person to get their message maybe can't read their writing, or maybe they're not getting it correctly, or maybe they're just in the mode of preparing food a certain way that it's kind of like automated in their mind. They're on autopilot, and they're really not paying attention. After all, if you handle 1,000 people a day, there's a good possibility that you're going to get a little bit lost in the routine of what's going on. That's why consultative selling is one of the best and most profitable professions you can get, because nothing is exactly the same. Every day is a different day. Every customer is a different conversation. Every sales pitch has a slight alteration to it. And if you pay attention to the lessons in all of these modules, you'll find that you too can create those subtle nuances that are different and yet are still paying attention. It's kind of like back in the day, when people used to count money to you, they would literally count it out to you, and they would pay attention because they didn't want to make a mistake. Today, they look at a cash register, which tells them exactly how much money to grab, and a lot of times they hand you the wrong change. Sometimes in your favor, sometimes in their favor. But when you're paying attention, because it's your money, you'll notice it. Sorry, but you owe me another quarter, or whatever it might be. At the same time, I can't tell you how many times I've written checks and sent them in to various agencies to pay for something, and they call me up and they go, "You didn't sign your check." Or they send the check back, and now I incur a late charge because I didn't sign the check. It's like, what was I thinking? I must have been completely distracted, or I've written checks so many times. I know not everybody writes checks anymore, but there was a time when that's what we used to do. And you had to pay attention to the date and the exact amount that you're writing, because a lot of times people make mistakes. People make mistakes for a variety of reasons. But some of the most common mistakes we make is somebody is not paying attention. If you've ever seen a car that's parking and they rear end the car in front of them while they're trying to just simply straighten out, they're just not paying attention. Whenever you are doing anything in life, the idea is to pay attention. You'll have so many more satisfying days of things going right for you if you just do that. Paying attention is very, very simple to do. It just means that you are telling yourself to keep your eyes and ears open and listen for everything you can, because people are telling you things and they're expecting you to pay attention to them. When you have children, if you're raising children, children want attention. They want you to pay attention to them. And if they say something to you and you kind of ignore them, they feel like you don't really care that much, and they actually can get their feelings hurt. One of the things that happens in life is, as we get older, things like this continue throughout adulthood. Now, whenever you're dealing in a business and you're selling to another person, chances are that person is an adult. And they want you to pay attention to them, because there's nothing more annoying as when you tell somebody who's taking care of you something and they completely miss it, like especially when they say your name wrong. And I'm not talking about a person who makes a mistake because your name is similar to another, but for example, initially you introduce yourself and they keep calling you the wrong name, especially when I was dealing with people in Argentina. Now, people in Argentina are typically very, very good, but some of them had thick accents, and I would say, my name is Alfred, and they'd say, hello, Oscar. I used to laugh at it every time. I didn't get insulted, but, you know, it's a slightly different culture. It's just like I'm sure we pronounce a lot of other cultures incorrectly when we try to repeat their names or the names of their cities or whatever it might be. But the idea is to pay attention. Whenever you travel to a foreign country and they speak a foreign language, if you don't speak it very well, you pay attention to the pronunciations, not necessarily the accents, but the pronunciations. It's very, very common to have cities in America that people can't remember correctly. I live in a city called Port Hueneme. Hueneme is spelled Hueneme. I can't tell you how many times I will pronounce it to a person and they'll say, how do you spell that? And I'll spell it for them, and they'll say Port Hueneme. And I'll tell them, no, it's Hueneme. Not that it matters to me, but it tells me if they're paying attention or not. And you deal with clerks when you go to places like the Department of Motor Vehicles or the tax office, or you just are going to a store, or you're going to a customer service counter. You want people to pay attention to you. Well, your customers want you to pay attention to them. Yes, it's great that we can do all the talking because we're doing the selling, but at the same time, we are interviewing people, we're talking to people, and when they sign up for us and we actually lead them in a workshop or a master class or a webinar, or we're at a seminar in person, we want to make sure that we pay attention, especially when we ask them questions. It's very simple. After many, many years of selling, it was still very easy for me to meet somebody for the first time. This is David Blair. I'm going to introduce myself. David Blair. Okay, hi David, how are you? I walk away, I meet Judy, then I meet Carolyn, and I go back and suddenly I've forgotten his name. Okay, now, that is very, very common, even in sales. It happens to all of us. It's just the way our minds work. And I'm not going to question that or get into the psychology of it, but you know what? When you call a person the wrong name, they can be very insulted. I once was at a convention where I met some celebrities that were stars. They were stars of this very, very popular situation comedy that aired for years on TV. And I was introduced to one guy. His name was Alan. And earlier that day, I met a gentleman by the name of Alon. And I kept calling him Alon. And he noticed it wasn't that I had an accent. I was just pronouncing his name wrong. That's a very easy mistake to make. But you know what? He acted like he was insulted because I did that. Like, don't you know who I am? Because he was famous at one time. And I'm sorry. I mispronounced you. You know what? I'm sorry. I just, for some reason I hear the name Alan and I'm trying to apologize. But you know what? It didn't really make a difference. He was still insulted because of that. And especially if you meet two people and you switch the names around because you're not paying attention. When you're doing selling, and we are all doing selling, the thing to do is to make sure that you convince yourself to be focused and listen and pay attention, because you never know when the slightest mistake could cost you the sale. It happens all the time, and none of us want to deal with it. So you'll learn these things in the workshop, the six-figure selling system, and I will definitely be paying attention to look for you.